Unfiltered. Ricky Bo, Bill Colarulo.
Philadelphia Sports Talk. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome into Unfiltered, everybody. A little bit of a subdued start to the show after a very disappointing evening last night. Just like all of you, Ricky and I sat down all excited. You had 3 games to watch. You had the Phillies start out early, but they were an afterthought for many. They get the W. But then you get the Flyers jump out to a 2-0 lead, and we're thinking, here we go. They lose in overtime. And the Sixers game was over before it even started. They get absolutely crushed by 39 points last night, Ricky. And here we are now talking about some real disappointing games last night.
Yeah, it was one of those evenings where you want to forget. When the Flyers go down in overtime, I think that was a little disappointing because they finally had an upper hand in the series. They finally had an upper hand on the team in the Hurricanes, and kind of I don't know if I wouldn't call it a fluke goal, but kind of an odd goal. A greasy goal ends up going in, and the Flyers go home that quickly. And that's why I hate, you love and you hate sudden death overtime. Because if you're on the losing end, it's like a stab in the heart. You're on the winning end, it's kind of like it puts you on cloud 9. I don't know, maybe that's I'm in a real crappy mood today. I don't know why. I'm sure those 2 games have something to do with it. It was just one of those nights where you like to forget. You look at the Sixers, you almost kind of knew. You kind of knew. You saw what happened to the Flyers having a short period of time going from one series to the next. It happens to the Sixers, and both the teams looked exactly the same. They came out flat in their games. They end up getting beat up in their games, and what happens next is now a question mark. This is playoff time. This is what happens in the playoffs. You get your hopes up, and then somebody punches you down. You get your hopes up, then somebody punches you in the mouth again. It's not always fun, but it is grueling, and it is kind of like intriguing every single day. But right now, kind of a worked up mood. I could see me going off at some point today.
I look forward to it. I really do, because I'm right there with you, man. Like, it was a very demoralizing evening, and for 2 completely different reasons. One, Sixers never even made it competitive, and then the Flyers just missed a golden opportunity. We're going to talk about both today, and really the overlying question that we're going to throw out to everyone is, well, which team is more likely to come back from this? So now the Flyers are down 2-0. The Sixers are down 1-0, and you get an off day tonight. We could all take a breather tonight and enjoy the Phillies game because there's no playoff games. And then starting tomorrow night, we'll have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It'll be rapid fire every other night watching the Sixers and the Flyers. But let's start with the Sixers, Ricky, because I don't want this to sound like I'm making an excuse for the Sixers. I tweeted this out last night. A lot of people came at me saying I was making an excuse. But the Sixers looked like a team that had played over 40 minutes on Saturday night for all your starters, and the Knicks looked like a team who hadn't played since Thursday and barely played in the second half of their game on Thursday because they crushed the Atlanta Hawks. Like, the Sixers looked slow. Everything we loved about the Sixers in the last 3 games against the Celtics, how hard they played, how well defensively they played, completely out the window last night, and they get crushed. Absolutely crushed. And what bothered me more than anything, that first quarter, do you know how many shots Tyrese Maxey took in the first quarter?
None.
He took one and he made 0. Yeah, 1 and he made 0. You missed it because if you blinked, you missed Tyrese Maxey. I understand, again, not making an excuse, but I could understand why Joel Embiid maybe would be a little slow after playing close to 40 minutes on Saturday. Maxey's got those young legs, man, and he needs to take over when things are going that way. You need Maxey to do what he did at the end of the fourth quarter against the Celtics in Game 7. He needs to put the team on his back at times for him to take one shot. Now, it wasn't all his fault. They went a lot of ISO with Joel early. They were trying to get Karl Anthony Towns in foul trouble. I get it, but once you saw that wasn't working, you got to get Maxey involved.
Yeah, and it's not an excuse. It's reality. When you really think about it, you only had that short period of time off. You got to come back and start up a game where the team had 3 or 4 days off before you're even playing them, you know there's going to be an edge already. You know the edge was already in the Knicks' favor. That is not an excuse. Nobody's really making an excuse. That is reality to me to start with. So let's not go with Bill made up an excuse. But what really concerns me right now is what you brought up yesterday. I brought up the point that, they're going on a short rest. It might be a tough game for them to get their legs under them. And then you had the interesting fact right after that. And it didn't occur to me until after you said that. They're only getting 1 day off in between games.
Every one of them, yeah.
That is not a good thing for the Sixers. Because where do you actually get your legs back? Where do you actually get your feel back? That's scary for the Sixers right now. And you're not working on the momentum of a win. What you're doing is you're working on the agony of a defeat. And how do you come back from that if you're not getting the proper rest, the proper things that you need? I mean, this is not going to be easy for the Sixers by any stretch of the imagination.
Now, you never want to lose a game.
Nobody even got to 20 points last night.
No, it was terrible. But you never want to lose a game. But I almost preferred the Sixers to get crushed because they were able to get all their starters off their feet. No starter played more than 30 minutes last night for the Sixers. Whereas imagine if this would have been a hard-fought battle in Game 1, everybody's playing over 40 minutes, and you lose on a last-second bucket by the Knicks. Now it's like, oh, man, at least they get a little bit of rest because he got them off their feet in that fourth quarter, and now you try to regroup for Game 2. Because if you are just a little step slow, the Knicks are a good enough team. They're going to do to you what they did to you last night. And after the game, Nick Nurse talked about that. They were just too slow defensively. Here's the head coach, Nick Nurse.
You thought we got off to a decent start defensively, and then we had I think 5 or 6 mid pick and rolls in a row that they scored on in pretty much every way they could. Came off at a 3, didn't get through the screen, get a lob, hit a couple floaters down the lane. I think they scored 6 straight times off that, and that kind of extended it a little bit. But I mean, listen, it's not very easy to evaluate any of that stuff. I just feel like we were full step slow tonight. Defensively, we just seemed like we were chasing everything. Didn't guard the ball well enough. Didn't contest shooters well enough. I mean, they were obviously picking us apart. Just moving a lot better than we were.
That sounds like an excuse, though.
But it also is true. They were a full step slow.
They definitely, 100% they were. I guess if you want to take something that you could take out of last night's game, the Knicks shot 63% from the field.
Insane, dude.
Okay, and 51.4% from 3. They had 19 three-pointers made last night. That's not happening in every game. I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen every game. Even if they shoot, I guess even if they shot 50% from the field, they still win that game. But I think it's one thing you kind of can lay your hat on, that they're not going to shoot that lights out every single night. There's no way. That doesn't happen in the NBA. You have your ups, you have your downs. The other positive, the Sixers got their asses kicked by the Celtics too.
In Game 1.
Yes.
And then again in Game 4.
So you could just look at that and say, okay, at least we got that to hang our hat on. It's happened before. They've come back from this before. I mean, but I don't like the fact that they only have 1 day off in between every game.
Yeah, that's it. And mainly for Joel and Paul George. Now, Paul George actually, I thought, had a decent game last night when all things are said about how bad they played. I thought Paul George wasn't too bad last night. But now the question is, all right, you heard Nick Nurse saying they were a step too slow. Was that because they played so many minutes on Saturday? Ricky, you said it yesterday, and it was right. You just opened the show talking about it, too. Game 1, Flyers-Hurricanes, it was obvious the Flyers were not ready for the style of play and with the up-tempo that Carolina played with.
Yeah.
Similar thing happens here. You come off the high of winning in Game 7 against Boston that has a style of play, and now you got a boom, quick turnaround back to Madison Square Garden to try to play Game 1. They just weren't ready.
They weren't ready.
They were a little slow, but I also felt like they didn't match the Knicks' physicality. The Knicks play with a lot of physicality. They did it 2 years ago, and they were even more physical last night.
Is there any way we're underestimating the Knicks?
I think they're a good team. I think they're a really good team. But are they better than Boston? Maybe.
Maybe right now.
Yeah, 'cause that's where maybe we're underestimating.
You know as well as I do, it's timing. Boston has had their moment in the sun. That their timing of missing threes was not optimal for them. It was optimal for the Sixers. And now you got a Knicks team who seems healthy. They seem like they're ready to play, and they seem enthusiastic about it, unlike the Sixers going into it last night.
So can they rebound? And when we talk about physicality,
game 2, I think would be big. Look at what you did with the Celtics. You beat them in Boston.
In game 2.
Yeah.
So we will see. And when I say I didn't think they were physical enough, you heard Nick Nurse saying, hey, we were a step too slow defensively. He also talked about the lack of physicality from the Sixers. Here's Nurse again.
Yeah, I mean it was super physical. I think they played really physical. I don't think we did get to the line some, but I thought in that same kind of run, I think we had 3 turnovers and they were just kind of on ball. They're physical. There's body hits, there's slaps, whatever, but you got to be able to at least secure the ball and not cough it up. I think we coughed 2 of the 3 up for pick sixes down to the other end, and that's just you can't do that in the playoffs. I thought it was physical. I didn't think we handled it great. We're gonna have to handle it better.
Yeah, so there's Nurse. Like Ricky, Tyrese Maxey, more turnovers than field goals made in this game.
Yeah,
it's not a recipe for success,
and that's not going to happen either. I mean, you got to look at things that happen in the game and say, well, that probably won't happen again. This won't happen again. I talked about the field goal percentage from the Knicks. That's not going to happen again. You think about the Maxey turning the ball over more than he's scoring. That's not going to happen. It's just one of those things where these things will turn around, but is it going to be good enough? I mean, you got it handed to you last night. There's no doubt about it. The Sixers got it handed to them. Are they able to? We know they could turn around and come back with a positive game, but there's not that type of rest for them. There's no rest for the weary in this series. And if they were tired in game 1, is that going to rear its ugly face again? I think isn't that the real question that we're going to be asking?
Yeah, and good news, Joel only played 24 minutes. Maxey only played 26 minutes. So if they're going to be fresh, game 2 would be the game they would be fresh for.
And the other thing I always look at is that somebody has to win game 1. It's not always going to be the favorite. It's not always going to be the team that wins it. But somebody has to win game 1. So you just chalk that one up, and you almost go into game 2 as a must. You don't want to pull that garbage that they did against the Celtics. You don't want to try that against the Knicks. You don't want to get down 3-1 because I would say the odds would be extremely stacked against you in this series.
Yeah, they were 0-18 down 3-1 in their history, but now they're 1-18. But that was the Sixers. Now they dropped game 1. It wasn't even close. Let's flip gears, and I want to hear from Sixers fans. How are you feeling? Do you think the Sixers can come back and win this series? You have 3 ways to get involved. Send your texts and your voice memos to the Davis Honda text line, 610-632-0975. We got We Hear You coming up at 3:45, again at 5:25. They get dominated. The Flyers come out last night in game 2, trying to steal a game on the road against a better opponent. And they come out to a hot start. They get a 2-0 lead early. Their first 2 first-period goals of the entire postseason so far. They get outplayed after that up until overtime. Now it's a 2-2 game. They're being outplayed. They come out in overtime, and the Flyers were dominating in overtime. I mean, they were absolutely bringing it to the Carolina Hurricanes. They had so many opportunities, and it is a massive missed opportunity for the Flyers last night. Because if they were able to get that W on the road against the best team in the Eastern Conference, and now you're coming home with a 1-1 series, it's a world difference from being down 2-0. And there was probably no better opportunity in overtime than Travis Konechny with the puck on his stick, the game on his stick with a breakaway. Here's what it sounded like.
Dvorak in to take the draw here against Taylor Hall. Now the Flyers get free. Konechny goes in. Konechny shoots wide of the net. He misses the goal. As it came to TK, he was in alone.
Travis
He's been
Konechny,
doing it a lot. I don't know I've said this, and I know you kind of agree with it. He doesn't look right. Something is going on. How do you miss a net on something like that?
Now, there are some people who are suggesting that if you slow it down, the goalie might have gotten a piece of it. But, Ricky, even if he's not healthy, this has been Konechny's entire career. In 30 playoff games, the guy has 2 goals. 30 damn playoff games, Konechny has 2 goals. And you don't want to just blame one guy, but, man, what an opportunity to win that game on a great pass from Trevor Zegras, a breakdown by the Hurricanes. Here was Konechny after the game.
We played good tonight. Like I said, I should have finished that. It should have been over. We're going home with a win, but, I mean, we're going home to our fans now. We know what it's like there, so we're excited.
You should have won the game.
That goalie never touched it. I mean, never touched his stick.
You don't think?
I just rewatched.
You don't think so?
No.
I didn't think so in live when I watched it.
I'm watching
live.
it right now. No, he took the shot from the circle. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, why didn't he get in a little closer, man? You got a breakaway in that situation. He takes it from like 15 feet out.
It's not like you don't do these breakaways all season long. I don't know, man. Maybe he thought if he went to his right, he's going into the defender. I don't know.
The Flyers outplayed the Hurricanes in overtime. That one is demoralizing because you get that win, and you get 7 power plays on the road against the Hurricanes. You only converted on one of them. You go 1 for 7 on the damn power play. I keep saying this. When you play a better team in the postseason, the only way you're going to beat them is if 2 things happen. Your goalie's going to have to steal a game or 2. That hasn't yet happened. Vladar has not stolen a game yet in this series. And you also have to be able to convert when you're given power play opportunities. And not only do the Flyers not convert on the power play, they don't gain any momentum on the power play. They actually lose momentum because they can't generate any offense. That also is demoralizing for a team. When you get that man advantage and you can't sustain any offensive pressure, it has the reverse effect. Like, Ricky, you were kidding around in the middle of the regular season when we were talking about how bad the Flyers' power play was. You said they need to start declining penalties.
Yes.
But really, it's hurting them more than it's helping them when they go to
It hasn't helped them. It seems like they have no organizational skills. Everything is a circle. Have you noticed this? There's nothing within the circle. Everything is around the boards. You're not going to win the battles on the boards. These guys have really good sticks. Like, they will get to the puck before you will. How many times have we seen it poke checked and whatnot? I know Drysdale scored a goal last night. I didn't think he had the greatest of games last night. That whole Barkey line, not good.
You know who your best player was last night?
Coots.
Sean Couturier.
Yep.
Yeah,
that
man.
You had him for a goal, which is a good call, but I didn't. He shouldn't be the best player on the ice.
No, he should not. But Couturier has really upped his game, and he's playing like a true captain and veteran. He was your best player on the ice last night.
The other thing that we talk about a lot is opportunities missed. You cannot miss an opportunity against Canes. You start missing opportunities, that just means that when they have their one opportunity, they're going to make the most of it. What happened in overtime? It's exactly what happened in overtime. Not really sure the goal should have counted, but we'll talk about that at some point as it goes forward, as we go forward. But you have to be better around in the offensive zone, around the net. Also, what happened to the traffic out in front? They had it one time last night and it worked. One time.
Yeah, you got to make it hard on the goal.
You cannot play in the corners against a team like Carolina. You continue to dump a puck into the corner, it's not going to work.
All right, so here's what I want from Sixers and Flyers fans. If you want to react to last night's game, we'd love to hear from you. Send your texts and your voice memos. But I also now want to look big picture. Which team is more likely to come back from the deficit they're in? You got the Flyers down 2-0, coming home for a game on Thursday night. Sixers down 1-0 with another game at Madison Square Garden tomorrow night. Which team is more likely to come back? We'll talk about that coming up. And if you think the Flyers are dead down 2-0, well, head coach Rick Tocchet had a message for everybody about that last night. We'll get to that as well coming up next right here. Unfiltered, 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports, Philadelphia. All right, welcome back into Unfiltered. A little bit of a depressing day today. I mean, Ricky and I were just talking during the break and, like, why we feel so down. It's not only that both teams lose last night. Like Ricky pointed out, you were at such a high. Like, you got worked up into such a frenzy for the Sixers beating the Celtics and the Flyers moving on for now both of them to lose in the fashion they lose in, where the Sixers get dominated and then the Flyers, you look like, oh, they're going to pull this out. They're going to shock the world. They're going to steal one on the road, and then boom.
And now that's two now when they played at the same times that they've only won 1 out of 3. That's twice.
Oh, with the Phillies, you mean?
All 3 of them. They've only won 1 game out of the 3 both nights.
Which, the one was a big one, though. Was game 7.
And the other thing is, why won't the Phillies change their game time for Saturday?
Yeah, you're more angry about that than anybody, I think.
I'm not, like, angry about it. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, it's the exact same time as the Flyers. 6
Exact.
o'clock. Yeah. It's going to be rough down there.
Sucks for me.
It is going to be rough down there. But here's the bigger question today. We'll continue to react to what happened last night. I know a lot of people want to weigh in with their opinions about the Sixers game and the Flyers game. You can hit us up. Voice memos, text, Davis Honda text line, 610-632-0975. But now that, we're the afternoon show, so a lot of people have been able to process this now throughout the day, is looking forward. Which team is more likely to actually come back and win this series? That's going to be the subject of our Twitter poll. But before we check where the masses early voting is coming in, Ricky, I'm going to ask you that question. When you look at both of these teams, Sixers down 1-0, Flyers down 2-0, which team would you say is more likely to come back and win it?
I'm going to go with, when I look at the choices, you have to look at the games that are left. I have to go with the Sixers because they have one more game left. And they haven't lost both games, away yet. I don't know. That's the only way I can go about this.
Yeah.
Number one, if you were to tell me, if you took the uniforms off the two hockey teams and you asked me who is the better team by watching them with no uniforms on, same uniforms, who would you say?
It's the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
It's not close.
And it's like, I know the effort the Flyers have to put into this. I know what's going on. I see the traps by the Hurricanes, and it's constant. Do you know how grueling that is in a hockey game? You would. Yeah, you do. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So, I mean, in that type of situation, for the Canes to be up 2-0 against the Flyers, that's an uphill battle in itself. Because now you give them an opportunity. The Canes are coming to Philly, and if they steal a game in Philly, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
So, according to Vegas, and then I'll give you my answer. According to Vegas, the Flyers right now are a plus 920 to come back and win the series.
That's a long shot.
Yeah. The Sixers are a plus 360. So, Vegas agrees with you. The Sixers would have a better shot of coming back than the Flyers would. I agree with you also because I felt like last night, I'm not saying that it's over. I'm not waving the white flag for the Flyers by any means. But I felt like last night was your chance to maybe steal the series. If you win that game in overtime last night on the road, and now you're coming back home for game 3 in a tied series, man, that gives you a real chance to try to steal this against a better team, because maybe Vladar stands on his head in game 3 or game 4 and you win another one. Maybe you get a lucky bounce here or there in game 3 or game 4 and you win another one. So I have a hard time believing that the Flyers are going to come back. Doesn't mean they can't. Not ruling it out, but I'm with you. The Sixers, I don't believe that what we watched last night is necessarily indicative of how this series is going to go. I think the Sixers are a lot better than what they played last night. We saw it on full display against the Celtics.
Yeah, we've already opened this book, but does the book have the same ending? Is what it really comes down to. I believe in the Sixers. Okay, do I think the Knicks are a good team? Yes, I think you have to believe that the Knicks are a good team. And all the talk of, the matchups and this, and the matchups go out the window sometimes. And I think last night the matchups were out the window. You didn't get a full read on exactly what the matchup should be or will be as we move forward. And I think you look at game 2, I think that's going to be the telltale game. If the Sixers get dominated again in game 2, then I might start saying, maybe we were wrong. Maybe there's something different about this Knicks team. But I have to believe when they get their legs under them that the Sixers will be a different team in game 2.
Yeah, I think you and I are eye to eye on this. Let's see where the masses are weighing in. Twitter poll. We're going to ask the same question. Which team's more likely to come back? Twitter poll always standing strong thanks to Dr. Avi Donapel of Iron Mountain Men's Health. What do we got, Sil?
Which team is more likely to come back and win the series, the Sixers or the Flyers? It's very overwhelming to start. 77% choosing the Sixers, 23% for the Flyers.
All right, not surprising. Ricky and I both went Sixers as well. But don't tell Rick Tocchet that. Because last night, for anyone who thinks the Flyers are dead to rights being down 2-0, Tocchet had a message for you. Here's Rick Tocchet.
Well, I think just the belief in the room. I think that really helps. The belief in the room of just staying with it. I mean, we've been dead before, and we've climbed out of the grave. So we keep hearing we're dead and dead, but the guys won't give up. So that's why I'm proud of them.
Yeah, how many times has this Flyers team been ruled out? Before the Olympic break, we thought, there's no chance they're going to make the postseason. Then they come out and they're playing well, but then they lost that one tough game. Was it against Columbus, Ricky, in the regular season where they were pushing to make the postseason? And they lose that game against the Blue Jackets at home, I think it was.
Yes, it was at home.
Right? And then
they've had the bounce back ability. But a lot of their struggles, when you think about it, happened at home. Coming off of road trips, they have struggled at home in that first game. And that's what was When you go back to the Flyers run, what was the one thing we kept saying? They're letting go of opportunities at home. They're letting go, and then they'd go on the road, go 3-0 on the road. They'd come back and lose again at home. And you keep saying to yourself, this is going to haunt them, and it didn't. It didn't haunt them. But now they're going to have to prove a point. They're going to have to come back to Xfinity Mobile Arena, and you, the fans, the ones that are going to be there, stay on top of them. Get them going, and make Carolina feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I taste gas.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something in the studio right now. You walk in, we get hit with a smell of gasoline. I don't know what the heck's going on in here. I don't know what's going on.
I could literally taste it on my tongue.
Yeah. So Ricky and I, we might be lightheaded by the end of the show. We got 4 hours in here. I don't know what's going on.
There's a pretty good stench, too.
If we want to tell somebody that maybe there's...
I would probably advise you guys
Smells like gasoline in here. I don't know what Johnny Marks...
Natural gas smells for a reason. I see that billboard
It's not
every
natural. It
single
smells
time.
like gasoline that you put in a car.
Yeah, it smells like gasoline, not natural gas. Gasoline. So anyway, somebody come in here and tell us if we're all right. Don't light a match in here, though.
Yeah, don't.
We don't know what's going on.
You heard that, Ricky? I
do want to hear from Sixers and Flyers fans today. Send your voice memos. We hear you coming up. We do it twice a show, once at 3:45, again at 5:25. Send them into the Davis Honda text line. Which team do you think is more likely to come back and win this series? 610-632-0975. Now, a lot of people are already hitting us up on the text board with their thoughts about the Sixers and Flyers game last night. Let's get a couple texts in here, Silvana. What are people saying?
All right, so we have Mark who says, no doubt the Sixers are more likely to come back. They got crushed in Game 1 against Boston, too, and came back. The Flyers are a much younger team with less playoff experience, and it shows by them not capitalizing on opportunities against a better team.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we got some bad news last night, too, with the Flyers that might make life a little more difficult. Noah Cates could potentially miss time. It was being reported that he was walking around with a boot on his foot after the game. You're already thin down the middle, and to lose one of your centers. Now, as we talk about the center ice position, did you see they moved Zegras back to the wing last night?
I saw that.
They tried to shake things up a little bit.
What would you do? You'd probably try to shake things up, too.
Yeah, especially after Game 1.
It was one of those things. I mean, who was it? It was Bump, Martone, and Barkey were all -2s in the game. That's not a good sign.
That's a young line, man.
Yes, it is. And I think you have to mix that line up.
Well, you're probably going to have to now.
I don't think you have a choice.
If Cates is out, let's hope Owen Tippett's ready to come back on Thursday. That extra day off would be very helpful to get Tippett back on the ice. One of your best skaters not being able to go against a team as quick as Carolina, that was a big loss. Make no mistake about it. But all right, we got another text. There's a firefighter telling us that we should get out of the studio.
Yeah, a firefighter says that you absolutely should get out of the studio now. You do not mess around with gasoline smells indoors.
All right. So should we?
I'm laughing. I probably shouldn't be
get
laughing.
out of here. Like, what do we do here?
I guess we keep going.
I mean,
look what we do for our people. Look what we do for our listeners and our
And it's
viewers.
not just us that have said it. People have walked in and said, "Yeah, it smells like something. It smells like gas."
All right, so hopefully somebody's on the phone in the building trying to figure this out for us.
We need a fan in here or something to get it out.
You need a fire department is what you need.
Yeah,
you don't
Ricky's
smell
not
anything
exaggerating.
behind the gas?
No, I don't smell any.
Behind the glass?
Yeah.
I am congested, though, so, I mean, I don't know. But
Anyway.
I don't smell anything.
Well, stay tuned. You never know what might happen.
You never know.
But I do have anxiety, and it's certainly making me anxious.
Yeah, you never know what might happen.
Might get delusional, just start saying anything on the air.
I'm more worried about whatever.
Like this wasn't a demoralizing day already with the Sixers and Flyers losing. Now we got to worry about this. But, yeah, I mean, look, I'm voting Sixers too. Like the Sixers are more likely to come back because I don't think you saw a true representation of what the Sixers are last night. They were a tired team. They weren't ready to play. I'm not making excuses. It's a playoff game. You should always be ready to play. But they weren't. And I don't think you're going to see the same Sixers team on Wednesday night in Game 2 at Madison Square Garden. But with regard to the hockey team, they're going to have the uphill battle because they were already the worst team on paper. We knew that coming in. The Hurricanes are a better team than the Flyers. They just are. But the Flyers played their hearts out last night, especially in that overtime, and you had an opportunity to steal that game and even up the series. That could have changed everything. And unfortunately, here we are today now, down 0-2 for the Flyers. But I'm not ruling them out. You win Game 3, Ricky. This is what's a beautiful part about the Stanley Cup playoffs. Every game changes the storylines.
It changes the status of the series is what happens. Yeah, I mean, you win Game 3, people will start the buzz again. You lose Game 3, and you might as well start packing your belongings.
Yeah. All right, so here's what we're going to do coming up. We'll continue to get your reaction to the Sixers and the Flyers, but the Sixers last night, not only was it not a true representation, in my opinion, of what the Sixers can do, can the Knicks continue to shoot as well as they did last night? Because I'm going to put it into perspective for you. How historic of a shooting night the New York Knicks had in Game 1 last night. We'll hear from Paul George as well on what he said about the Knicks shooting. So keep it here. Unfiltered continues. 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia. All right, welcome back in on this, was it solemn Monday or Tuesday? I don't even know what day it is. I'm so depressed after last night's loss, man.
It's definitely a takedown Tuesday.
Like, the one positive last night, actually there were two positives last night. One, because the Sixers got blown out so badly, they were able to get all their starters out of the game without even playing 30 minutes. And two, when the Sixers were getting blown out, we were able to turn a two-screen night into a one-screen and focus solely on the Flyers' overtime. But the problem was the Flyers didn't win in overtime. Like, I turned the Sixers game off in the fourth quarter. I wasn't watching it. I'm locked in on OT, and I'm like, man, the Flyers are going to win this game. They're outplaying Carolina, and unfortunately, the Hurricanes did to the Flyers what the Flyers did to the Penguins in Game 6, where you got outplayed in overtime and you still win the game.
It really had the look that it was going to a second overtime. There was a couple minutes left, but when they scored that goal, and it seemed as though the Flyers had kind of command, and it didn't seem like they were going to be the ones to break in that situation. But you know what? You make a save, you get slashed by somebody coming in, the puck goes in the net.
And you know, today's the 26th year anniversary of that 5 overtime Penguins-Flyers game.
Primo.
Well, technically the game started yesterday, but it didn't end until the
next day, yes.
So we're at 26 years.
Does it stay both days?
Yeah, so what exactly is the anniversary? I guess it's both.
I guess it would be both days, yeah. Because, the start of it is yesterday, and the end of it is today.
Did you say yesterday?
Yeah, I couldn't say it right. I'm messed up.
Yesterday? Well, maybe it's what we're breathing in. So we have people checking it out. I know a lot of you out there are worried about us because we said we smell gasoline in the studio. It might actually be
paint thinner.
Not that that's much better.
I don't think that's good either.
We're not sure what it is, but if we start slurring our words, call for help. All right? So here's what we got last night.
I just said yesterday.
Yesterday. So in addition to the Flyers losing, Sixers get crushed, but I want to put into perspective, and this actually makes me feel better, about how well the Knicks were shooting the basketball last night, because I can't imagine that this keeps up. They shot over 63% from the field.
Yeah.
Not only was that the highest field goal percentage in a playoff game by the New York Knicks, according to StatMuse, it's the 13th highest field goal percentage in a postseason game in NBA history, Ricky.
Was that good?
That's insane. The record is only 67.1% by the Pacers back in 2024. I mean, this team shot 63.1% from the field. That's not going to happen again, right? It can't.
I would think it can't. That was my argument earlier on the show, is that is a hard act to follow. The Knicks put up some numbers that I don't think can be done. I don't think you can get back to that type of numbers in every, at least not in every game. It's not going to happen that way. There's going to be games where you might shoot in the 30s, hopefully, for the Knicks. If they keep shooting 50, 60%, I think it's going to be a short series.
And look, I keep going back to the Celtics series as a reference point. They weren't hitting their threes. Why? Because the Sixers were getting in their face and playing really tough defense that was allowing the Celtics to have tough shots, and they weren't able to hit them. Last night, way too many open shots for the Knicks. So I can't imagine that, one, the Sixers are going to play that weak, and they played weak defense last night, and that the Knicks are going to hit the shots the way they were. And even Paul George last night, and we have to bleep out what he said, he was talking about how well the Knicks shot. Listen to PG.
I mean, just get settled in, you know. Yeah, we had breakdowns tonight, but they also shot the out of the ball. You know, they were hot. They came out hot. They came out on fire. but it's a game of adjustments. We'll make adjustments, see what we need to get better at. But yeah, again, the same as last series. One, they don't get any extra points for going up big tonight. We'll be ready for game 2.
All right, they shot the bleep out of the ball. I think that's a pretty good assessment.
They did. What other way do you want to look at it? I mean, they shot threes like it was going out of style. They made 19 3-pointers. 19. That's not going to happen every game. I think that, who proved that?
Boston.
The Celtics did. Yes, they did. I wouldn't go in looking at this team as if they're invincible, that they're going to shoot 60% from the field every night. That's impossible. It doesn't happen. And it will not. You can guarantee that. They're not going to shoot 60% every night. Watch. They shoot 60 next game. There's going to be people all over me.
I know.
I just find it impossible. I think once the Sixers have their legs on them, they're going to play better defense. They're going to be moving around the ball a little bit better. And I think they're, like, when you really think about it, they're going to be in the shooters' faces a lot more. You give them free shots, maybe this could happen, but I don't see that happen very much.
I told you they had the 13th highest field goal percentage in NBA history in a postseason game from the field. I'm trying to see what their 3-point would be in history, because what did we say they were last night? They shot from beyond the arc. They were 51.4%. That can't be the highest. Oh, that's a season. I'll have to do some research. I'm getting a pop-up ad, and it's bothering me, so we'll forget that. But I want to hear from Sixers fans and Flyers fans. Which team do you think's most likely to come back? Ricky and I both said the Sixers. I'm not saying that the Flyers can't do it. It's just going to be a real uphill battle now, down 0-2, missing out on a golden opportunity last night. But the Sixers, what you saw last night is not what you're going to get from the Sixers, I don't believe, and I certainly don't think you're going to see the Knicks be able to duplicate that sort of shooting effort. But I am curious where you weigh in on this. Which team's more likely to come back? Hit us up on the Davis Honda text line. Send your voice memos in for We Hear You. We Hear You Part 1 coming up at 3:45, so get your voice memos in. What do we got on the text board, Silvana?
All right, well, we have Tony from Delaware that says, can we stop coming up with excuses that they only have one day off? The New York Knicks, from now until this series is over, they have one day off as well. The Sixers always have trouble with the Knicks. Sixers were blown out by 40 points by New York Knicks before. They always have trouble with the Knicks, and they have no answer for big body Brunson. There are other teams in the playoffs as well, and the Sixers not making that they don't have enough rest as an excuse.
Well, look, it is, but it doesn't sound like an excuse, but it is one. I mean, they're not making the excuse. They were slow last night. They were slower than the Knicks last night. We are saying that it probably had something to do with not having enough rest after a 7-game series.
Yeah. Well, and it's not only that. And that was Tony, you said, right? I mean, look, and again, I don't want to make it out like I'm making an excuse. The Knicks beat you, right? The Knicks beat the Sixers. The Knicks were the better team last night. But I don't think it's an excuse to point out a reality that the Knicks played their last game on Thursday. They crushed the Atlanta Hawks. They were up by like 40 at halftime. They barely played in the second half. So now you were able to rest your starters in the second half on Thursday. You didn't play Friday. You didn't play Saturday. You didn't play Sunday. And then you got a home game on Monday night. Whereas for the Sixers, their starters played over 40 minutes on Saturday night. Like, it's not an excuse. They weren't good enough last night. But to deny the reality that one team played a hard-fought Game 7 on Saturday and another team was sitting back watching for the last 4 nights, that is just reality. And I think that explains a little bit as to why the Sixers look so slow defensively. A team that was so good in the last 3 games of the Celtics series on defense was slow last night. They weren't physical enough last night. And if you want to say it's an excuse, I'm not saying that the Knicks didn't win this game. The Knicks won. And there should be no excuses in a postseason game. It's just reality. One team was rested and the other wasn't. I don't think... Look, I've been critical of the Sixers, man. I'm not a Sixers defender by any means.
But, I mean, I think people think it's that easy to just jump out there and be 100% and have all your energy after a 7-game series that quickly. I don't even think it's possible. I mean, it wasn't as though we weren't talking about this yesterday. We were on talking about this during our show and how it could affect the Sixers, and it might affect the Sixers. I just think you look at other teams getting breaks. The Lakers, If you want to be like that, why is that scheduled the way it is?
It just happened that way. I mean, look, the schedule makers got to do what they got to do. And now Flyers get the extra day because they don't play till Thursday. Sixers, you got to go every other night now. You got a game tomorrow, a game Friday, and then a game on Mother's Day on Sunday. And quick turnaround, but you got to be ready to play tomorrow night if you're the 76ers. And it's not only about the defense. It's not only about the shooting. I played a clip for you earlier of Nick Nurse saying you need to match their physicality. And this is a conversation I want to have now because there's a lot of people talking about on social media what Mikal Bridges did to Joel Embiid last night. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're going to get into it coming up because Joel was trying to set a screen. Bridges goes right at him, and he throws a little elbow where? Right to Joel Embiid's stomach where he just had the appendectomy. You see Joel keel over. Well, Joel Embiid was asked about that last night, and I want to have a conversation. Was that a dirty play from Mikal Bridges? And how should the Sixers respond going forward in terms of physicality? Because it's going to get physical. If you're the Sixers, you better match it. We'll have that conversation coming up. We'll hear what Joel Embiid said about a potential dirty hit from Mikal Bridges. And then we also have your $1,000 cash giveaway. So do not go anywhere. Unfiltered continues right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and NBC Sports Philadelphia.